Today we're not just recapping a horror story. No, we're going to peel back the layers and see what's really going on underneath. We're going to look at how it uses these classic ideas, faith, doubt, sacrifice, to build something that feels like a really powerful modern fable about what it even means to believe in something.
So the story kicks off with this really poetic line, and right away, boom, you get the central conflict. I mean, this is a classic setup, right? You've got this hidden, ancient evil on one side, and on the other, our hero, who's not armed with a sword, but with the flame of faith. This tells you from the get-go that the real fight, it's not going to be physical. It's happening inside, in the heart and in the mind.
Okay, so to really understand what's on the line here, we've got to get to know our main character. Let's dive into the world of faith and tradition that she comes from.
So this is Ayushi, and she's this fascinating mix of old and new. On one hand, she's a top university student, super smart, but instead of chasing some typical career, she's chosen to follow her family's sacred duty. Her whole life is just built on this incredible spiritual foundation.
And here's what makes her story even more interesting. For 5 generations, this duty, it only went from father to son. It was a man's job. But Ayushi, she's the first daughter to ever take on this role. So she's a real trailblazer, She's kind of breaking a small tradition to uphold a much, much bigger one. That's pretty cool.
In her mission, it's a perfect reflection of who she is. She and her friend Sanjita, they're heading to a village nearby, and they're not doing it for money or anything like that. They're just there to hand out copies of the Bhagavad Gita. It's this really pure, simple act of faith, which, of course, sets the stage perfectly right before things get really, really dark.
And yeah, this is exactly where things start to go wrong. Let's follow this path of faith and see how it leads them somewhere completely different and a whole lot more dangerous.
So the sun goes down, they realize they're lost, and just like that, the entire vibe of the story changes. They end up in this village that's, well, it's totally deserted and silent, like creepily silent. All that sacred peace from their temple, gone, replaced by this really heavy, ominous quiet.
And then, out of nowhere, this guy named Aditya shows up. He offers them a place to stay for the night, says it's too dangerous to be out. And at first, it seems like a miracle, right? A total blessing. But, as you can probably guess, this act of kindness, it's really just the first piece of the trap.
Okay, this brings us right to the core of the story. And the main conflict, it doesn't start with some jump scare or monster attack. No, it kicks off with something way creepier. A battle of ideas. A debate with a demon.
And you can see their worldviews just totally clashing here. Idea just can't wrap his head around why a brilliant student like her would waste her education on old traditions. He literally says religion has ruined people's minds. But for Ayushi, it's not like that at all. Her education doesn't erase her culture, it actually makes her better at serving it. These two are coming from completely opposite places.
Then Aditya really dials it up. He goes right for the jugular, attacking the very foundation of her beliefs with one simple but huge question. Does heaven even exist? All of a sudden, this isn't just a friendly chat anymore. It's a full-on interrogation of faith itself.
Now, Ayushi's answer comes straight from the heart. It's all about pure faith. She talks about heaven, about reincarnation. She even shares this really sweet wish to come back as a bird for her mother. And Aditya, he just scoffs at it. He wants scientific evidence, and he basically compares her sacred texts to old theories about the world being flat. He's using modern doubt as a weapon against her deep spiritual belief.
And this is his most clever move. He totally shifts gears and pretends to be curious. He starts acting like someone who genuinely wants to understand, who wants to believe. And this just completely lowers their guard. It's a brilliant, chilling performance. And it's all designed to disarm them right before he shows his true colors.
And then the mask comes off. In one single terrifying sentence, he tells them who and what he really is. The debate? Oh, that's over. The horror is here, and it is very, very real.
So what exactly is Aditya? Well, in Hindu mythology, we're talking about a race of super powerful, giant demonic beings. They're basically the ancient enemies of the gods. And knowing that is absolutely crucial. See, Ayushi isn't just debating some guy who doesn't believe, she's standing face to face with an ancient enemy of everything she stands for.
So, the talking is done, and the story just explodes into this intense fight for survival, both physically and spiritually.
Things happen fast here, so let's walk through it. First, the big reveal. Aditya shows his true demonic form, black eyes, the whole deal. Then, the sacrifice, Sangita, using her very last bit of strength, attacks him to save Ayushi. That gives Ayushi just enough time for the counterattack. She grabs his demonic idol and chucks it into a fire pit, cutting off his power source. And finally, the cleansing. Ayushi douses the whole house in kerosene and burns it right to the ground, purging the evil.
And right there, in the middle of all that fire, Ayushi recites this incredibly powerful verse from the Bhagavad Gita. It's basically a declaration that good will always rise up to defeat evil. And in that moment, she's no longer a victim. She becomes this force of divine justice, drawing strength from the very same text that Aditya made fun of.
But hey, the story doesn't end when the fire goes out. Let's see what happens next, what rises from those ashes, and really get into the story's final message about faith, loss, and friendship. We jump forward 1 year later, and while time has passed, you can tell the events of that night have left their mark. We see Ayushi back at her temple, still carrying out her duties. Her faith was pushed to the absolute limit, but it didn't break.
And then we get this really beautiful kind of bittersweet moment. A white myna bird comes and lands on her shoulder. And instantly, Ayushi remembers Sangita's wish, her wish to be reincarnated as a bird. It's this powerful symbol, right? The one belief that Aditya attacked so fiercely, reincarnation, seems to come true right before her eyes. It's like a sign that Sangita is still with her, that their friendship is stronger than death.
And that really brings us to the big question the story leaves you with. Think about it. Aditya's power came from using doubt as a weapon. Ayushi's power came from holding on to her faith. The story doesn't give you a simple answer, which is what makes it so good. It just leaves us to wonder about our own lives. In a world that's so uncertain, where does our real strength come from? Is it found in asking all the hard questions? Or is it found in the faith we choose to hold on to, no matter what?